Hey everybody, this is Dean Walker here. I'm part of the Living Resilience Alliance, part of livingresilience.net and safe circle support calls and the Poetry of Predicament podcast and coaching and other significant resources available on the website. And there are probably three different ways you could be watching this particular video. The first one, you might have bumped into it here on the Poetry of Predicament podcast. I've posted it as just an update about what's going on, what are we producing these days outside of the Poetry of Predicament interviews that you'll see here on the podcast and on the YouTube channel. And the biggest update is that this has been a year of formulation, a formulation of what kind of personal growth work can be produced and offered that will be most useful for people as they approach the inner work that seems to be called for in these times of collapse of Earth and human systems. I had the pleasure of joining Jem Bendel and his partner, Katie Carr, in their first full-length version of their introduction to what they call Deep Adaptation. That's their term for the inner work that I was just mentioning that appears to be called for in these times. Remarkable course, great people there. I found immense value, and I just feel so blessed to have been able to join them for that course in Greece in June here in 2019. And just about the same time, really May, June, and July was a time that I was running Deep Adaptation in Times of Collapse webinar. And just finished that up, obviously, in July, and have since wrapped it up to be a self-paced, on-demand learning series that you can sign up for on the website of livingresilience.net, and we'll have those links in the show notes here. And so if you've stumbled into this video on the Poetry of Predicament podcast, you may want to go take a look at what is available, the information and links that are available to that entire webinar experience that is available for you at no cost to be able to follow along in the footsteps of the people who participated in that 6-session series live. And many of the people there did basically the same thing. They watched the recordings of the live sessions, and then they're between each of the 6 sessions in May, June, and July here in 2019. Between each session, there was an email sent out with lots of references and lots of materials to be able to support the ongoing flow of the learning in that series. You will also have all those in-between session emails and all of the recordings of the 6 sessions if you sign up to take part in that Deep Adaptation in Times of Collapse series. So again, you can find the links both on the screen while I'm talking and then in the show notes of this particular video. So that takes care of one kind of person who'd be watching this, and I hope you'll make yourself available to that series. It is a beta test. It was just a test to see how much can we convey in an mostly online environment and mostly self-paced online experience with 6 90-minute sessions over 3 months, you can tell that that was not a whole lot of time to spend in person with people. And so here's a word to the wise of no matter which type of person you are that's seeing this video, is if you decide to take on this work or to explore it at this introductory level, we recommend highly that you do this with other people. Yes, you can do it alone. And yes, you could actually do it in binge watching fashion, and you could do it in far less than the 3 months that people in the webinar did it in. But I recommend not doing either of those. If you can possibly bring other people into the fold with you to take it on like a study group or a book group, I think you'll find far more value in this experience. And also, you may not want to, spend 2 weeks in between sessions watching the videos, but I would recommend no less than a couple of days between each of the video sessions for you to be able to do some of the practices that are implied, and really give yourself some slowed down time to really let some of this stuff in, let it sink in. So another person who might be watching this video is a person who's gotten themselves to the website, and you are now watching this on the website, and just see, is this something you want to do? In that case, welcome. And I hope that you're clear by the end of this video that you either want to dive into this series or not. So either is obviously fine. So now on to the third kind of person who would be watching this video, is someone who has been clear all along, or one way or another, they're clear that they're ready to partake in this particular webinar series. And again, hopefully has a few study partners ready to roll and has already signed up, because this video will also be the first video in the series that will stack up on top of the already existing 6 sessions recordings for the webinar. So what I'd like to offer you is an understanding of kind of the broader picture of the whole context in which this webinar occurs. And again, this was a beta test. This was a test of what works, what doesn't, what are people interested in, what's most important to people as they look at taking on the inner work, the substantial inner work that seems to be called for in these times. What I can tell you is that we learned a tremendous amount in putting on this webinar and in these 6 sessions. And particularly, I want to acknowledge and thank everyone who participated and then took the time to give feedback so that we could grow this thing, we could evolve this thing and mature it as an offering that's valuable for people who are taking on this incredibly important work. What you will find once you finish this series is you will find here on the livingresilience.net website is a whole new set of offerings. We're ready to launch what will be the introductory series of 4 brief videos that'll introduce people to the whole concept of what is it to be collapse aware, what's going on in this world that we're calling collapse. And we're also going to be introducing the whole notion of how is this called collapse, and how is it that some people actually call this a time of predicament rather than just problems or challenges, and so much more. So by the end of the 4 brief video sessions in that introductory series that was soon to be released here on the website, A person would be crystal clear that either, yes, they're very interested in going on to further and further study and further practices of this deep adaptation work as they deepen their and broaden their experience of seeing the world as a system of systems, as an, uh, some call it Gaia, the notion that we are living on a living planet and that we are actually interbeing with each other. We are deeply interconnected with each other and also with all the other beings on Earth. So if one decides to take on some of this path on this living resilience, what we call Deep Academy learning series, you'll be invited to do some extraordinarily deep work. And some of it can be very, very challenging. And what we've been finding is it is also deeply fulfilling. Uh, the, the center of this work is to reconnect with the deeper self, others, earth, and soul that we have obviously disconnected from in our busy and self-destructive business as usual human operating system. So that's where you are. You're at the knocking on the door, if you will, to the beta test for this series of learning series that are just ready to bloom here in midsummer and into fall of 2019. I'm hoping that you will have no regrets. In fact, you will have a tremendous amount of value in participating in this introductory series, this Deep Adaptation in Times of Collapse webinar. And again, I hope that you will have compadres, people that will join you in this introductory series. So all the best to you if you've decided to take on the participation in this learning series, this Deep Adaptation in Times of Collapse. And if you have decided not to, chosen not to, my warmest blessings to you, my best wishes to you. We all need it. We all need to know that we're, whatever we're choosing to do to support each other in these extraordinarily demanding times. I wish you the best. And if you do decide to take on this this particular learning series and perhaps go further with us, I look forward to meeting you and interacting with you in some of our live sessions that are built to support this kind of work. And yeah, I just wish us all the best as we walk this extraordinary path together.